Welcome to Ascending with Venus Castleberg, a space where we explore the journey of spiritual awakening, expanding your consciousness and raising your frequency to create a whole new world. We'll dive into the possibilities that open up when you choose to follow the whispers and trust your inner knowing. Each episode is designed to guide you in expanding your awareness, tuning into your intuition, and discovering the magic of your life every day. We'll talk about living aligned with your soul's purpose, going beyond limitations, and creating a life and a world worth celebrating. You are here to embrace who you truly are and step into the infinite potential that's waiting for you. Let's ascend together. And now, here is your host, Venus Castleberg.
Hello, everyone, and welcome. I am so happy to have you all here now and in the future. Hi, I see Nikia is already saying hello. So if you're out there, please don't hesitate to comment. Let us know you're there. You are welcome here, and also welcome today to call in 202-570-7057 if there's something that really pulls on you and you really want to talk to either myself or Victor. And without further ado, I am super excited to introduce our guest today, Victor Furhman, also known as Victor the Voice. And in a minute when he speaks, you'll know why. Is a veteran spiritual teacher, healing practitioner, and the host of a long-time running broadcast, Destination Unlimited, where he explores metaphysical and transformational topics with leaders and wisdom keepers from around the world. With a background in mediumship, interfaith ministry, and energy healing, Victor is known for his calming voice and deep compassion he brings to every divine conversation. And this is so true. When I first met Victor, I was like, I just felt at ease. So welcome, Victor. It's so nice to have you.
Venus, thank you so much for inviting me to join you today. This is wonderful.
Awesome. So I'd love to just dive right in. I know we only have a brief time today, but I really want people to get to know you just a little bit. My first question for you today is, what first led you to say yes to spirit, and how did that moment change your life?
I think the first things that happened were when I was very, very young. I was 5 and 6 years old is the earliest that I can remember. And when I was 5 years old, I used to attend what I called night school. And my parents told me I was imagining things, that I was dreaming. But night school were beings who would show up, and they looked just like you and me, and they'd invite me to a special classroom where they would open my mind to topics that I had no possible source for. When this is the 1950s we're talking about. And boys my age were interested in playing with toy soldiers and sporting gear and things of that nature. But I wanted to learn more about electronics and energy and vibration. And going aboard the classroom, I would learn these things, and I would come back and I would ask my parents to buy me crystal radio kits. I built my first crystal radio when I was 6 years old. So that was one aspect of it. The other aspect, I was very close with my paternal grandfather. He was a bit of a mystic. And he would share things with me that you would not think that an adult, especially an adult in his 80s or early 90s, would share with a child. But he knew that I was part of that soul group, that we incarnated together, and that I was here to learn and to study and to bring that knowledge forward and to help others with it. And I was about 6.5 years old, and I'm sitting in my room, and I knew my grandfather had been in the hospital, but I was looking up and I see my grandfather smiling, standing in front of me. I said, "Grandpa, when did you come in?" Didn't say a word, just smiled at me, a beautiful smile, and disappeared. And within a few minutes, the phone call came that my grandfather had passed away. And I had said something to my parents before the phone call came, and they were kind of surprised. But again, these are the types of things that I've been experiencing all my life, especially since childhood. I would always hear messages. And the messages were in a very, what they used to call the soft, quiet voice, or the soft, still voice. So I knew they were not from ego, because ego voice shouts at you. But the voice that I would hear, the messages that would be delivered, would be this wonderful, reassuring, the soft voice. And I think the most demonstrative happened when I was in the Air Force. I was in the United States Air Force from 1973 to 1979. 1975 to 76, I was stationed in Seoul, Korea. I was on part of what they called Armed Forces Radio and Television. I was a broadcaster over there, military broadcasts. And one morning I woke up and I heard in my head, Mom needs to hear from you. Now, my mother was back in New York City, 6,000 miles away. I had no reason to think that anything was wrong because we would write each other all the time, and she never shared anything going bad or anything of that nature. But I listened to the voice and I called. And in those days, for those of us old enough to remember, we had extension telephones. You could have wired telephones in various rooms, and you could answer two phones simultaneously. And my mother and my sister picked up the phone simultaneously. And I said, Mom, is there anything wrong? And my sister says, oh my God, how did he find out? And it turned out that she was scheduled for major surgery the next day. And the voice told me to tell her that she'd have a very rapid and complete recovery. Everything would be fine. She had nothing to worry about. She needed to hear those words of reassurance from me. And of course, that's exactly what happened. The next thing, also in Korea, I had a problem with my back for many years because of a football injury. And the pain was really getting intense, and I didn't want to take any type of painkillers. And a friend of mine said, have you ever tried acupuncture? Now, I'd heard the word acupuncture before, but I never experienced it. He said, you've got to go and see an acupuncturist. So I did. I made an appointment. I had the acupuncture treatment. And the next day, the pain was abating. I felt much, much better. What I did not know was that in Korea in those days, the acupuncturists did not use disposable needles, that their methods of sterilization were not exactly the best, and that hepatitis B was endemic in Korea. Many people carried the virus without manifesting the disease. So 2 weeks later, I wake up one morning and I'm not feeling right. And I look in the mirror and my eyes are starting to turn yellow. And I said, uh-oh, this isn't right. And I went to the hospital, to the military hospital, and they looked at me and said, you have hepatitis. They immediately admitted me. They actually had the Red Cross send a telegram to my mother back in New York. Your son is very seriously ill. His prognosis is not good. We'll keep in touch with you, which obviously thrilled my mother when she heard that information. In any event, they were treating me differently than they were treating the other patients in the ward. They were giving me infusions of vitamin K. To this day, I'm not sure why they gave me the vitamin K. But in any event, one day, the voice came. And the voice said, ask the doctor for something that shows a healthy liver. So when the doctor made rounds, I said, do you have anything, a photograph or a book or something that shows a healthy liver? He said, why? I said, I'd just like to look at it. So he sort of begrudgingly went and got me an anatomy book. And the anatomy book had a picture of a healthy liver. And I was studying it and studying it. And then the voice said, put the book down and place your palms over your abdomen, over the area of the liver. And I did. And I started feeling this wonderful tingling sensation, this wonderful warmth. I can almost call it a loving sensation, a feeling that I was loved. And I don't remember how long that lasted. At some point, I fell asleep. The next morning at 5 a.m., the nurse woke me up. She apologized. She said, I have to take your blood. 2 hours later, she came back and said, I'm so sorry. We messed up the laboratory samples. We have to take more. She took more. An hour later, the doctor came in and said, after I gave you the book last night, what did you do? And I told him. He said, you're crazy. And I said, why? He said, because yesterday your liver enzymes were so elevated, we didn't think you would survive. This morning, they're almost normal. We've never seen anything like that happen before. And in fact, in my official military records, the doctor wrote in the medical records, the luckiest SOB I've ever met in my life. He actually wrote that in my official military records. So you would think that would be my aha moment, my grand awakening, but I wasn't ready. I wasn't ready until my mid to late 30s to really fully embrace what I had experienced, because I had a life that had to ensue, had to get employment and working and build a career and family and so on. So in any event, in my mid to late 30s, the back problem renewed itself. I started having that lower back pain. And a friend of mine said, have you ever tried yoga? And I said, I've heard of yoga. I've never tried it. But he says, try yoga. Yoga will be very helpful to you. And I went and I got a adult education from the local high school. They had a catalog and they had take yoga classes with Judy Hamsa. Now, the word Hamsa, the name Hamsa, resonated. I didn't know what it meant, but it resonated with me. And so consequently, I signed up for the class. I met her. She was a wonderful teacher. She and I became very fast friends. She said, I love your voice. Would you like to start facilitating the meditation? And I said, absolutely. And I started facilitating meditation. We started going on a series of retreats to a Zen monastery in upstate New York, the New York Zen Study Society. And at one of those retreats, someone mentioned the word Reiki. Now, I'd never consciously heard Reiki in this lifetime, but something about Reiki resonated with me. And two more of us, my teacher and another friend, and that was October of that year. We'll look into it next year. Well, 2 weeks later, we were in our first Reiki class together. and Reiki became the rocket fuel. Reiki really opened me to the concept of energy healing, of all the things that I'd experienced before, but really never had a fix on it. Where does this come from? What is this about? How does this work? And so we started taking the Reiki classes. And in those days, if you wanted to go into a hospital and do laying on of hands of any kind, you had to either be a licensed massage therapist or ordained in a faith where laying on of hands was one of the practices, one of the sacraments that you could do. And my early relationship had come to an end over spiritual differences, actually. And one morning, just backtrack a little bit. I had a friend of mine. I was conducting these Friday night meditation and healing circles in New York. And a friend of mine said, I know this woman and she has cancer and she'd like to learn more about Reiki. Would you be willing to meet with her? And I said, absolutely. And I made an appointment to see her on a Sunday morning. And she opened the door and we looked at each other. We had never met in this lifetime. But she said, it's you. And I said, it's you. And a friendship ensued, which later turned into a romantic relationship. And I started working with her. And I had mentioned to her about my desire to become ordained so that I could pursue Reiki in hospitals, laying on of hands in hospitals. And she said, I know this wonderful seminary called the New Seminary of New York. It was founded by Rabbi Joseph Gelberman, Swami Satchidananda, and many other interfaith luminaries. She said, that's perfect for you. You've got to go. So she made an appointment. They were bringing the new class in, and we went together and met with Rabbi Gelberman. And he said, you know what? You're both enrolling. She's in for free, and you give me half tuition. I see something in you that's very special. And I felt blessed. I felt so blessed. And during that time, so we attended the classes and learned so much about interfaith and learned that there's an iteration of the golden rule in almost every faith and religion. Do unto others as you'd have them do unto you. Love thy neighbor as thyself. And that sort of embedded itself in me and became the watchword for everything that I did from that point forward. It was all about helping others the way I would want to be helped by them if they were in turn to reciprocate. And so we graduated. We had our graduation ordination ceremony in November of 1997. And she had actually, her illness ensued and got worse. And it was very difficult for her to function. And at that ordination and graduation service, seminary service, I was the president of my class, and I was called upon to speak for the class at that ceremony. And I honored my partner. Her name was also Judy, and I honored her. She was a special education teacher in New York who had turned around the lives of thousands of kids. Mm-hmm. And I acknowledged her. I talked about how undaunted she was by this challenge in her life and the love and the inspiration and teaching she shared with all these wonderful children. And she started crying when she heard me speak, of course. And we graduated and were ordained together. The following week on Thanksgiving, we were preparing for my mother and sister to come over for dinner, and she went into a coma, actually, and collapsed. And I grabbed her, entered the hospital, brought her to the hospital, and was running back and forth. And January 8th of the following year, January 8th of 1978, she passed away. No, I'm sorry, 1988, she passed away. 1998, I'm sorry, just a little bit, I'm okay. 1998, she passed away. And I resumed working with the school. I was teaching at the school, and I was doing video recording so that students who were corresponding students could get their tapes and so on. And this woman kept smiling at me every time I would pass her. And I said to a friend of mine who was her dean, I said, "Who's this woman who keeps smiling at me?" And they told me her name, Laurie Sue Brockway. And I said, "Oh, she's new in the school." "Yes, she's new. She's in the seminary program." "What did she do before coming to the school?" "She was the editor-in-chief of Playgirl magazine." I said, "Wait a minute." I said, "I'm no Mr. January." I said, "She's not smiling at me because I'm some kind of a hunk." But what I didn't know is she was in the audience the day of our graduation and ordination, and she heard me honoring my Judy. And she said, "Where do you meet a man who honors a woman the way this man is honoring this woman?" And it planted a seed. And a friendship ensued, and ultimately a love relationship ensued, and we've been together ever since. So I feel very blessed by that relationship. Her thing is the feminine divine. And in fact, even last year, she got her master's degree in history with a display online called the Goddesses of New York, where she went around to all the locations with statues of goddesses, museums and buildings and libraries, and photographed them, and then wrote the story of each of these goddesses and presented them as her master's dissertation. And I'm very proud of her for doing that. She's wonderful. She's written more than 45 books on the feminine divine, on interfaith weddings, many different things. She's a really, really great author. And she was the one who inspired me to put all my poems together last September in a book called Circles and Rings, a collection of poetry from the soul, which is my first solo book. I've actually co-written with her and co-written with others, but my first solo book, and I'm very proud to have that book out there, sharing my poetry. So getting back to this concept of these yeses presenting themselves. So the yes was for the seminary. The yes was for everything that ensued. And I was out in Montana during 9/11 at a business conference. I was in business also for 44 years, conventional business. And I was out in a business conference, and we had the television on. She was watching back in New York, and I was watching out in Montana. And all of a sudden, we see the report of the plane crashing into the World Trade Center. And we were watching, and then the second plane came, and I said, "This is not an accident." I said, "This is something deliberate." She was living in Manhattan at the time. I said, "You got to get out of there." Her son, who is now our son, was attending a school out in Long Island. He was born with special needs, and so he was attending a school out in Long Island. And she was going to go out and make sure he was okay and rescue everything. In any event, I wasn't able to get back to New York until that Friday, the first flight out of Montana to Denver, and then to Denver to New Jersey, Newark. We couldn't get into New York per se, but I took that flight back. And the day before, she had gone down to the Red Cross. They had a gathering in Manhattan, and they were looking for volunteer chaplains to work with the families who were affected by what happened on 9/11. And as soon as I got back, I checked in with my work, and then that same Saturday, we went together and we registered as chaplains for the Red Cross. And for the next several weeks, we did our day jobs by day. And in the evening, we would go down to the Family Assistance Center in Manhattan, and we would work with the people who had lost loved ones or were waiting for word of loved ones in 9/11. And it was the most moving time I can ever remember. And it really allowed us to enhance our skills in chaplaincy, in listening, sacred listening, which to me, I think is the most important thing. And some of the stories that people shared, and to be honored by listening there, being there for them, to listen to their stories and hear them without saying a word, and just sharing our love and sharing our compassion. What a great opportunity. So needless to say, these things have been happening. And then what happens, the concept of synchronicity is something that you and I have discussed before. And for me, what synchronicity means, Carl Jung defined synchronicity as meaningful coincidences without causal connection. And I've had so many of those in my life, some of the ones that I mentioned when I was earlier. But later on down the line, in 2018, I had been working for a company for many years, and I decided I wanted to leave that company for no reason to discuss why. I didn't feel I was properly treated there. The very day that I left the company, I had 3 offers at substantially better wages, salaries, and with people who really respected what I had to offer. And so I said yes. The synchronicity came, and I said yes with a capital Y. And I started working for them. 2020 comes along, and COVID comes along. And they said, you know something? At your age right now, they're talking about this COVID. It could be very dangerous. The majority of your work involves meeting customers face to face. We don't want anything to happen to you. Why don't you retire now? And I wasn't ready to retire, but I was grateful to them. They gave me a very nice separation package, continued to pay my health insurance for another year, all kinds of good stuff, because they respected everything I brought to them. In any event, the very same day that that happened, I got a phone call from the current administration of the new seminary asking me if I'd like to participate in some work that they were doing. And I said yes, with a capital Y. And by the way, each of these synchronicities, I could say yes with a capital Y. I could say no, dismiss it out of hand, or I could say, well, not right now. But every time I said yes with a capital Y, the next one would come, and the next one would come. So consequently, after that, they said, we're going to have a program for getting a doctorate in ministry, my doctorate in spiritual direction. Would you like to go for that? And I said, yes, with a capital Y. And I started doing that. And then they said, we're going to open up the Interfaith Temple online. Would you like to be Minister of Communication? And I said, yes. And then come 2023, a friend of mine said, I need your business skills. Would you come back to work for me? I said, yes, with a capital Y. So I turned 72 this last January, and I can honestly say that my life has been blessed in so many ways with these synchronicities, with these spiritual openings that have come to me, and I'm grateful for all of them.
I love that. Thank you for sharing that. You touched on it in the beginning, but I'd love for you to say a little bit more if you have just a couple of minutes to say, how do you discern between the ego and spiritual guidance or your true self? Like, how did you come to realize the difference?
When I heard something in what they used to call the still soft voice within, everything that voice guided me to do was 100% right. When I would hear shouting voice, you got to do this now. No, because things did not transpire the way they were meant to transpire. And listening to that voice was listening to my personal ego trying to get me to do something because the ego wanted to do it, whether I wanted to do it or not. So, and that's where the differentiation comes in. And I think anybody who's ever had a practice of meditation also recognizes that still soft voice will come. And that's the voice of spirit. It's the voice of guidance. It could be the voice of someone who has been in your life and who has passed, or it could just be your spiritual guides, whoever they may be. And I believe there are many spiritual guides in many iterations. So,
yeah. And I've always told people, like, the difference I've found too is that, like, your spiritual team, your true self, source, they don't judge you.
No judgment.
If there's a tone of judgment in that voice, it's not anybody who's on your side.
So. And I can honestly say I turned 72 in January. And I can honestly say I've never felt as peaceful as I feel, as content as I feel. And the teacher in the new seminary used to have an expression that he would say, everything is unfolding in divine order. We may not see it, we may not recognize it, we may not understand what's happening, but ultimately there's a higher purpose for everything that happens. And I am so embroiled by that. I'm so engaged with that sentiment. And it's changed my life.
That's beautiful. Yeah, that peace is such a beautiful gift. So,
yeah, and I'm trying to share that peace with a lot of people who are not at peace because of the developments in our country right now. So.
Right. Yep. Yeah. Well, say, how do you do that?
By listening. First thing is sacred listening. That's the most important thing. When people come to you and say, I'm afraid, I don't know what's going to happen, I'm afraid to say anything or post anything, I'll listen to what they have to say without injecting my opinion or saying, you don't have to be afraid. I would never say that, because if someone's afraid, they're afraid. And I'm not going to say, you're not afraid. I'm not going to deny what they're feeling. But I'll listen to them thoroughly, and then I'll ask them in the voice that I use, what would you like to do? How do you see this turning around? And bring out from them the answers which are already there.
I love that. Empowering people to find their own answers.
Absolutely.
Oh, boy.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you, Victor. It's been such a wonderful taste, and this was intentional, guys. So we did just have a taste of Victor because Victor is one of my very special guests on our How Do You Know You're Not Crazy Summit that's coming up April 18th and 19th. It is live. A lot of summits are not live. This one will be live. You can call in and ask questions, and we're going to take a deeper dive into Victor, his story, and maybe some of his tools and processes that he uses to help you empower yourself. So if you'd like to join us, the link to join the summit is in the comments. And Victor, I'm so grateful to have you on the show today. Have a wonderful day, and we'll see the rest of you on the other side of the break. Bye.
Om Times TV. Imagine becoming a super influencer. Reinvent yourself, invest in your brand, and then manifest your success with a robust spheric approach. Om Times Media and Broadcasting offers a unique and multifaceted way to become the spiritual and conscious influencer you deserve to be by putting your message across our powerful platform with its proven record of integrity and excellence. Through our produced shows, Om Times offers the opportunity to become a social media TV personality, a radio show host, an Om Times magazine columnist, and a syndicated podcaster, all in one shot. By live streaming your show on Om Times TV and broadcasting it across the extensive Om Times radio and TV networks, you become more than a host. You become an ambassador and a force for positive change. Om Times. Open yourself to the possibilities.
If I could be you, and you could be me for just 1 hour. If we could find a way to get inside each other's minds. Walk a mile in my shoes. Walk a mile in my shoes. Well, before you abuse, criticize, and accuse. Walk a mile in my shoes.
Hello, beautiful people. Some of you joined us while Victor was talking. Kimberly, Simon, Mark, Astra, Bob, always great to see you all. If you missed that first part with Victor, no worries. There's definitely the replay. You can catch the replay. He has a very fascinating story from childhood on up, and it was just a teaser intentionally. I'm just teasing you because we're going to have a whole hour with Victor at the summit, the How Do You Know You're Not Crazy Summit. We'll post the link again for anybody who might have missed it. It's free. It's April 18th and 19th. It will be live. We are going to open up the lines for questions. You can talk to these. I'm having 5 very special guests, and you can call and ask them questions and get facilitation live. And we're going to hear not only what, like, the spiritual awakening and some of the weird and crazy stuff that happened for these people, but also what did they do with those capacities? What did they do with those gifts? So if that sounds like of interest to you at all, I'd love to have you join us. If you can't make it live, that's okay, but you have to sign up to get the recording. So again, the link is in the comments, and I'm so grateful to have these special guests coming. So today I feel like I haven't done it in a while. I probably did it last week, but because I've started to have guests, we haven't been having our, weekly meditation. And today I just wanted to dive into this concept of saying yes to spirit a little bit more and do it through a little bit of a guided visualization. So hopefully you can stick around, and please don't do this if you're driving. Nice to see you too. Well, nice to feel your energy, Mark. So finding a comfortable seat, wherever that is for you, closing your eyes if that is available to you, again, for safety's sake. Try not to close your eyes while walking either. I find that doesn't work out very well either. I crack myself up. That's all that matters. So just saying hello to your body, breathing in, exhaling out, relax, breathe in, exhale out, relax. Kimberly says yes with a capital Y. Yes, I loved that Victor said that too. A little bit more emphasis on yes, right? Like yes. Breathe in, exhale out, and relax. Let your shoulder blades come down your back. Feel your fingertips, maybe rub your fingertips together just to bring a little bit of awareness into your fingers. And then rubbing your toes on the earth, on the ground. Breathe in. Exhale out. I call the guidance that I get from the universe, from source, from my true self, wherever, to me they are, he calls it a still small voice. I think that's really apropos. I've always called it the whispers. And it is not always very clear or loud, or it's like this gentle nudging of like, hey, you might want to try this, or you might want to do this, or, take this route home. Breathe in, exhale out. And relax. Relax into your body. Include your body in your being. Let your body be a part of this adventure and this journey of life. You chose to come and have a body at this time. Enjoy it. Breathe in, exhale out, and relax. Some of you may already be experiencing some whispers. Maybe you're feeling some tingling in your body. Just lean in. And just for fun, because I do find it's easier to listen to the whispers when we lower our walls and barriers, even the ones we don't know about. Bring them down. You can put them back up later if you need to. But just for now, lower your walls and barriers, even the ones you don't know about, even more. And more. And more. And allow yourself to expand your awareness. At first, just expanding your awareness to include the room that you're in. Expanding your awareness to include the building that you're in. What are you aware of? What do you notice? What do you feel? What are you aware of? and allowing your awareness to expand out to include the city that you're in, the town, the village, wherever you are in this world. And again, what are you aware of? What do you perceive? What do you know? Not from the knowing, I know that this building is blue and the fire hydrant is red and that kind of knowing, but what sort of energies are you aware of? And just being the observer. You don't have to do anything with your awareness. We're just observing, never judging. And as you have the awareness, we'll just stay within our town for today. But I want you to, what is the whisper? What is the gentle nudging? What is the still small voice that Victor was talking about? Where does that guide you in your mind's eye? It might be guiding you there physically. You can do that after this. But for now, let's just go there energetically. Still including our bodies and our beings, because our beings are so large. They are everywhere. You don't have to leave your body to go there. But maybe you feel this nudging, this energetic pull to go to a specific coffee shop or a park or a specific trail. I want you to just allow yourself to, in your imagination, to go there right now. And as you step into this place or onto this trail, just take a look around. What do you see? What do you feel? What are you aware of? Maybe you don't see anything, but maybe you just know something. But if it's a familiar place, you can probably pull up the images in your mind from memory. So allow any of your memory of the place to go ahead and come into your awareness. Who or what are you aware of in this space? Who or what requires some attention? So maybe you find yourself on a trail and there's a sweet, very kind, loving dog there wanting to say hello to you, or you see a bird fly by, or butterflies, or maybe you're in your favorite coffee shop and you notice that the favorite coffee shop has new artwork on the wall, and that there's somebody in the coffee shop that's just requiring maybe a smile, maybe an acknowledgement. Just allow yourself to indulge in the awareness of whatever awareness you're getting right now. Maybe there's a soul that needs a hug, or needs somebody to just let them know they are seen. Maybe there's a spirit that's stuck in the in-between, that needs to know that they don't have a body anymore, and that you can help them move on. When I truly follow the whispers, it's magical, it's fun, it's mystery, and some amazing things happen. Sometimes for me, sometimes for others. So what is this whisper guiding you to do? What is this whisper guiding? You to feel, to acknowledge. Maybe the whisper even took you into your body, into something that you've been struggling with. And as you find yourself in that space, what is the whisper telling you? Maybe it's time to give up sugar for a little while. Or there's some sort of harmony that you can create in your body. By just talking to yourselves. Wherever your intuition brought you today is perfect for you. And then look around. Is there something that's there to contribute to you, to gift you? Or is there something there that you are there to contribute to? And just follow that whisper. If you're there to receive, then just receive. If you're there to gift, to contribute, then contribute. Whatever's happening in this special place for you right now, enjoy it. Be grateful for it. If you're contributing to somebody or something, can you receive their gratitude? They are so grateful for you and the contribution that you give. Or if you are being contributed to, can you receive it without walls and barriers, or without the need to reciprocate? The universe desires to give to you all the time. Can you just receive it? Once you feel that that has started to come to a completion, that why you were in that space is coming to a close, you can stay in that space or you can go somewhere else. But I'd like to invite you to imagine that you're sitting in a very soft, big, comfy chair. And as you sit in the chair, there is a movie screen playing in front of you. And if you haven't seen the movie Sliding Doors, I highly recommend it, with Gwyneth Paltrow. Great movie. But this time, this movie is you and your life. And perhaps there's something in your life that you've had a question about, that you've been wondering about. Do I go this way? Do I go that way? Do I do this? Do I do that? Do I date this person? Do I not? Do I stay married? Do I not? Whatever it is that you've been contemplating and trying to figure out, and maybe trying to understand, and trying to get it right and avoid getting it wrong. I'd like you to just place that scenario on the screen, on the big screen in front of you. And while there are many different outcomes of this choice that you're trying to make or desiring to make, for today, we're just going to go with yes or no. Not what's right or wrong, what's good or bad, but what is that full body yes with a big Y. And as you play, it's just playing like a movie in front of you. You see both scenarios play out. If I don't do this, if I say no, this is what happens. And yes is not right necessarily in this, right? Again, there is no right or wrong. So I'm not looking for the yes that's right. I'm looking for the yes, this is what you want to create in your life. So looking at, okay, if I don't choose this or I go with no, what will that create? What will my life look like in 5, 10, 500 years if I go down that path? And then look at the full body yes. Yes with a capital Y. Look at that path. Where will that path lead you in 5, 10, 500 years? And I do say 500 years on purpose because your cognitive mind cannot understand what's beyond this lifetime. But your choices and what you choose will impact your life for many lifetimes to come. Which one is true for you? Which one of those choices is the full body yes for you? Which one do you maybe not know exactly how it's going to turn out, but you can feel it and you have access to the energy of what that choice would create for you? And again, since there is no right or wrong choice, it's still just a choice. But now you have more access to the energy. What do you want your life to look like in 5, 10, 500 years? You ask the universe to show you the yeses, the capital Y's, that will create what it is that you've been asking for, that will create more of what you truly desire. And enjoy it. Enjoy that feeling. Enjoy that energy. Really become aware of what that energy is for you. Because I'm going to tell you now a little secret in following the whispers. You have an idea of the energy of the future you'd like to create, then those whispers match that energy. It may not make sense. It usually doesn't make sense in your mind, in your brain. But there is an energy that is the same as what you'd like to create. So those days when you have the pull to call somebody out of the blue that you haven't talked to in a long time and just tell them that they are loved or that you're grateful for them might be exactly what that person needs to receive or hear or feel in that moment. Or those times when you feel pulled to go to a coffee shop and meet a stranger who becomes one of your closest friends because you followed the energy, you followed the whisper, and it matched the energy of what you've been asking. And maybe there's another whisper or another pull, another nudging, another poke from the universe that encourages you to try something else. Maybe it's a new exercise regime, and you might be somebody who doesn't really exercise, but you're feeling this whisper, this nudging to take up some form of exercise, form of body movement, to enjoy your body more. Sure, you can totally ignore the whispers, you can totally ignore the nudgings. But what would happen if you didn't ignore them and you just were a yes? Because you trusted them, they were here to create greater for you. Every whisper, every intuitive hit, every yes, synchronicity, it all is here for your benefit. It is here to make your life even greater. Will you listen to it? Will you follow it? Will you trust it? Maybe you could follow it just like the wonderment of a child as an exploration. Like, I have no idea what this is going to create or how this is going to work out, but I'm just going to trust and keep moving forward. Great as an example as we had this idea for this summit probably 5 months ago or something like that. And it's just now coming to fruition. So it may not happen in the timing that you want, but if you keep following the whispers, everything will unfold in front of you as if by magic. Breathe that in and exhale out. And when you're ready, you're going to slowly begin to bring yourself back. Maybe rubbing your hands together, feeling your fingers and your toes once again. Slowly opening your eyes. So again, if you'd like to join us, please come to the How Do You Know You're Not Crazy Summit. We'd love to have you. And stay tuned. We have another very special guest coming next Tuesday. I look forward to seeing you all then. Have a great week. Bye.